Will you be going to the store later? Welcome back to Lingoni English. My name's Brian, and in this video, we're going to look at the future continuous or future progressive in English. More specifically, we'll look at some examples, we'll see how it's used and how it compares to some of the other tenses. We'll look at the meaning and the structure as well. Let's start with some examples. I'll be working when your flight arrives. I'll be working when your flight arrives. Will you still be cooking at 8 o'clock? Will you still be cooking at 8 o'clock? Yeah, I think I'll still be cooking then. Yeah, I think I'll still be cooking then. I'll be waiting for you when you get there. I'll be waiting for you when you get there. She invited me to her party, but I'll be traveling then. She invited me to her party, but I'll be traveling then. So a really common use for the future continuous in English is that you have one ongoing action that goes on for a while and another action that happens during that time. So it can either interrupt it or, one event can just be happening and then the other one just happens during it. It doesn't necessarily stop it. Our first example was an example of that. So I'll be working when your flight arrives. So I'll be working, it's going through time, and then sometime during that is when your flight arrives. I'll be working when your flight arrives. You may have noticed that the structure is similar for the past continuous and the simple past. So for example, I was working when your flight arrived. It's the same concept of one event happening over time and another event happening during or maybe interrupting the other one. Also, be careful that in the time clause, you don't use the word will. So for example, I'll be working when you arrive. In some other languages, you would say something like, I'll be working when you will arrive, but no, in English, we don't do that. I'll be working when you arrive. Just when you arrive is in the simple form. But as far as the future continuous or future progressive goes, what's the structure here? We have will plus be plus verb in ing form. It's that simple. I'll be working. You'll be singing, we'll be cooking. And of course, those are with contractions, but you can always say, I will be cooking, he will be singing, etc. Now, English has several future tenses, and the thing I like about the future continuous tense is that it's a soft way to say things for the future. Let's look at some examples. So if somebody says, will you be coming to the play? A play being something like Romeo and Juliet that you see in a theater, right? So, will you be coming to the play? When somebody asks this, there's no expectation or pressure to go to the play. They're just asking in a sort of gentle way. But if somebody uses the present continuous to ask about this future thing, so, are you coming to the play? There's a little bit more maybe hope or expectation that you say yes. Are you coming to the play? And it's even stronger when someone says, are you going to come to the play? I almost feel like someone's expecting me to say yes. Are you going to come to the play? And if I say no, I feel like they'll probably ask, well, why not? But if somebody says, will you be coming to the play? It's just, more neutral and a little lighter. And comparing this to the future simple, so will you go to the play? That sounds a little strange to me, and I think it's because of the way we use will in other situations. So, for example, we use it to propose for marriage. So, will you marry me? Those are very particular occasions, and in regular daily life, when we use will for questions, it's often for requests. So, will you take the trash out, please? So that works too. But if you're going to ask somebody about future plans, like, will you go to the play? Probably not my first choice. The same is true for promises as well. So, I'll do more filming when my camera is fixed. This sounds like a promise, a pretty solid promise. But if you just want to soften the language a little bit and make it more natural, you might say something like, I'll be doing more filming when my camera is fixed. Now, this is not as strong, so maybe it sounds like you're going to take some more time to do the filming, but it will happen. And of course, a stronger, more confident way to say this would be, I'm going to do more filming when my camera is fixed, with going to in there. And before we get to our last point, I wanted to ask you, have you heard about the Lingoni English app and have you tried it out? Go to lingoni.com to check out the app, where we have all kinds of listening exercises, worksheets, interactive exercises, and more for you to improve your English. All right, so our last use of the future continuous that I wanted to mention was one where you're really emphasizing the time that something takes or the experience during that time. So for example, if two teachers are talking to each other and one wants to warn another teacher about something, they could say, if you sit those two students together, they'll talk all class. You could say this, it works just fine. But if you say, if you sit those two students together, they'll be talking all class. Using that continuous form really elongates the time and sort of lets you know that, okay, it's going to be unpleasant. If you sit those two students together, they'll be talking all class. You should really go to that concert. I know if you go, you'll be smiling the whole time. Again, here, you're really focusing on an experience and its duration in the future. You should really go to that concert. If you do, I know you'll be smiling the whole time. So there you have it, the future continuous in English. Did I forget anything? What about your own examples? We love to see what you write. Go ahead and leave some in the comments below. See you next time.